to Bedtime Buddies, the chill out podcast of relaxed chat and easy nonsense. So, here we are.
Yes.
We're in Eindhoven. We just got here after a... how long drive?
I want to say 4.5 hours, 5-hour drive.
Unnecessary hour in the middle in traffic.
Sitting down.
Right?
In traffic.
Avoiding trucks that were coming into our lane, whether we fucking liked it or not.
Whether we wanted it or not, yeah.
I know, that's what it is. But now we're here. And
We're literally in suburbia.
We are. And...
As the Pet Shop Boys would say, which was the song that was playing when we got here.
I know. Yeah,
It's clever.
It's great. And we're sat here on Van... I'm going to say this wrong, but I'm going to try my best. We're sat here on Van Kingbergenstraat.
Yeah, that sounded good.
Thank you. Shall I try it again? Van Kingbergenstraat.
Yeah?
I'm getting the hang of it. When we were stood outside the house and we said, is this Van Kingbergenstraat? And the sign
was right next to us.
There, within 4 feet of us.
Like a video game.
It was. And it's a wicked place.
It's lovely. We can see the T-junction right outside all these windows, which means that anytime anyone has a smash, we'll be the ones to see it.
Like an instant smash.
Because yes, we'll just add water.
Water. Straight out the window.
In the winter.
So, welcome to episode 1 of Bedtime Buddies.
Episode 1.
Episode 1, the very first one.
I feel honoured.
You should do. And we are going to be bedtime buddies here in Eindhoven tonight.
Aren't we just? There's a huge bathroom that just looks like we should just live in it. The big tub and a big sauna. There's a sauna.
I know. And beyond the sauna, it says on the sign, once you've got hot in the sauna, get yourself out on the little... the words evade me right now.
We need to go in there.
We do need to go in there, but there's a little outside area to go chill out in. And if I so chose, I could sit on the shitter with the sliding door open and you could watch me.
Can I say,
yes,
if we were romantically involved,
yes,
there's a big shower that's just walk in and just really obviously, and then there's a big hot tub, not a hot tub, but a big bathtub,
yes,
loads of space, and a big sauna. So just like, if you were here as an actual couple, you'd be loving it.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, on the way here, the bedroom that is in the attic, the ladder looked fun going up. The ladder didn't look fun coming down.
Yes, so according to the pictures, there's a little cute loft room which you want to use.
Yes.
And having seen it, I don't think you're that fussed about it.
I mean, I bed my bed, literally. It's time to sleep in it.
You literally have. Listen, it wouldn't be you if you didn't get to do the crazy thing.
I know, right? And
but I feel very privileged to be part of this inaugural
Bedtime Buddies. Hey, listen, I'm like, who could I do a podcast with if it wasn't the first person I ever podcasted with, which
Seems
was
fair.
yourself. You know, in the history of the podcasting universe, we've done Badger Watch, What the Film, the Games Board, all these different podcasts. Right?
And you've come on Don't Get Me Started, and you've come on various streams, so...
And we were
reasonable.
radio DJs, so I'm going to say cheers.
Cheers.
What is this bedtime drink that you've got for
Nothing
us?
knocks you out like red wine. This is a Malbec.
I do like a Malbec, and
It's very fruity. It's jam shed. This is Jeremy's favourite.
It is a nice wine. I've seen the label. I've never actually had it. I wondered whether it was like cheap and nasty, or because it's got quite a.
It's not cheap and nasty, but it's lower in the cost
Echelons.
Yes, I'd say it's like a £6 bottle of wine.
What does that mean for the common folk like me?
It means you should drink it if you're common.
I'm incredibly common.
Me too.
I think before we go any further, I'd just like to say that this Airbnb in Eindhoven is the guy that rented it to us today is a chap called Bart.
Yes.
And if you are coming to Eindhoven, you should check this place out. When we first got here, he left a little chalkboard that said, "Welcome Matthew."
That's your name.
Which is my name. And he left us a little treat, some sweets and a little card saying hello, and also a crystal, which isn't a sweet. I discovered this when I
Much to your chagrin.
to eat it.
And a £10 per day discount if we come here again.
I can see me coming here again. You don't know this. When I went to get the gourmet ice from there, I walked out of here and down to the end of the road. There is a Lidl, there's a burger place, there's a kebab place, Chinese restaurant, there's like a kind of convenience store that is got all the fruit and veg outside and everything, and a bakery and all sorts of things.
Shops.
But we're right there. We're
right next.
2 minutes.
We feel like we're in suburbia because I look at this, and having spent quite a lot of time in Flanders, it looks very similar. Cute avenues with no road marking, so no one knows whose right of way it is. So you really take your law into your hands when you're driving in Flanders, and apparently here in Eindhoven.
I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to be talking about bedtime things, dreams and things like that. That shared space that we drove through earlier is very much the fruitful ground upon which nightmares will grow.
I felt it looked like that bit in the Paperboy video game, where things like lawnmowers are coming out to get you, and a guy's cycling off the road, and there's a person walking with a kind of like a walking stick in your way.
And so there's 2 lanes of traffic and 18 lanes of bicycles going in every direction, not just with the traffic, against the traffic, perpendicular.
Yes.
Adjacent to, and then just when I thought it couldn't get any crazier, a woman stepped out into the road carrying a baby, and I was like, "Oh, do you know Christ, she's got a baby."
Do you know those hazard perception videos that you see when you have to do your theory test? And it was a bit like that. And you click whenever there's a hazard. And I think I would have clicked the mouse into destruction.
I think I would have just hit the mouse with a hammer.
Smashed it.
It's just so many hazards.
You can see 1 or 2 hazards. I've seen 1 or 2 hazards every second.
I will dream about things such as trying to put a ball into a box, and the ball will go into the box, but then at the last minute miss the box. Or I'll be trying to, one particular nightmare that I had, I was stuck in the middle of the road, and the road was frosted over, and every time I tried to stand up I would slip over, and
I see.
That was what that road was like.
You know, that road was not sufficient for 2 lanes of traffic properly, because it has 2 bicycle lanes on either side, which therefore restrict it to 1 lane proper, which means you're constantly weaving in and out of people, which is fine. I get that Holland is like that.
It's bicycle, baby.
Yeah, same as it is in Belgium.
Thinking about this the other day, I saw a thing, where, look at my words today, they're amazing. How strong is this wine?
You can edit it won't matter, it'll appear like you got it correct. What is the word you're trying to
conspiracy theory.
Oh yes.
Why they clean out the canals in Amsterdam every year, and there's so many bicycles in the canal. They have a huge dredger with a JCB arm that picks them all out, like loads and loads of them. And there's 3 theories. 1, people steal a bike. People want to get home, they haven't got their bike, so they steal someone's bike, and at the end they just chuck it in the canal. B, they get pissed and cycle into the canal.
Yes.
And C, there is a suggestion that the bicycle industry would collapse in this country if people didn't keep buying new bicycles, so that the bicycle company hires henchmen to steal the bicycles and throw them in the canal.
I think that is an amazing theory, but probably unlikely. I mean, there's plenty of reasons. Having lived in Belgium for a period of time and experienced cycling around, my ex told me that it is true what you just said about stealing the bikes. People steal bikes all the time. People are always stealing bikes in Belgium, probably here in the Netherlands as well. Yeah. They just get nicked, and I think people's feeling is like, someone nicked mine, I'll nick someone else's, and it just keeps going round and round. So I think bikes get stolen.
Well, there you go.
Also, I should say that bikes sort of could get just chained up and left for eons, just sitting in the same place.
The electrical company.
That's right. Correct. Yeah.
Plural.
Yeah. All the companies that begin with Eon. Anyway, sorry, you were going to say.
No, I think it's time for our first segment, which is a little thing called Bedtime Thoughts. So, bedtime thoughts. What are we thinking? What are we thinking before bed? You know, the little things that keep you up at night?
Yes.
Did I put the bins out?
Yes.
Is that a burglar in my house? Why am I in bed with Alex?
I think a lot of women over the years have asked themselves that same question.
I just, it bemuses me. I was looking at myself in the mirror the other day, and this is something I was thinking, how throughout my life I've convinced multiple women to allow me to get into bed with them.
Yes.
And some of them repeatedly so.
There must be something about you, Matt.
I can't fathom it myself.
Is this one of the things you think about when you go to bed?
Yeah. How did I make this happen? How can I make it happen again? It's been since lockdown, it has been a droughty desert.
Well, listen, when we go out into Eindhoven very soon, if you were to meet a lovely lady, good luck getting her up that fucking ladder. I mean, can you imagine you meet someone, you step through the door and you go, oh my God, I have an Adrian Edmondson fantasy and you have just walked in at the right fucking time. Shh. Don't say another word. Take me back.
Let me take me to the attic of love.
You just come back and she looks up at that ladder and you'd be like, yeah, it's not worth that. At that point, I think I would say, I will concede the bedroom to you.
Really? You do that for me?
Of course I would.
I mean, I was just going to smash her to bits on the sofa.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's acceptable.
Just as
okay,
long
fuck
as...
it, I'm keeping the bed.
Like, honestly, the ladder looks like the north face of the Eiger. Look at it. I'm not going to lie to you, I went to another Airbnb in Brussels. It has been a hectic summer for me. I went to one in Brussels for a beer festival at the beginning of September, and the stairs there were not unlike going up Everest.
The stairs here on the outside getting into the flat were very, very steep.
I wonder if it's a Airbnb requirement in Europe that you have stairs above a certain angular thing.
Once I went to one in France with Isabeau, and we went to Paris, and they were like, it's on the 5th floor, just to be aware. It says in the Airbnb all over. Just so you know, it's on the 5th floor. It's steep. It's on the 5th floor. And it really was quite the steep incline to get up there. But it was there so they couldn't have someone come back to them later and say, you never told me it was so steep.
On the 5th floor, so steep.
It was ridiculously
steep.
The
one that we stayed in Brussels a couple of years ago, before lockdown, when me, my brother and Marv stayed there, the Airbnb there had, we were up on the 4th floor, and the handrail came up to your knee, stopped at your knee. So it's less of a handrail and more of a trip hazard.
I was going to say a trip
And then
hazard.
it's 4 floors.
Of tumbling down.
Straight down. 40,
they know how to
50
build
feet.
it here in Europe.
They know how to kill motherfuckers in Brussels.
Yeah.
And my brother that was so drunk, he was trying to purchase a drink from the bar. But instead of the bar, he was trying to purchase a drink from the painting of the bar on the wall next to the bar. He was stabbing his 20 euros into this painting. I'm like, yeah, I got to take this guy home.
Got to get it.
I cannot send him up the death stairs like that. He'll fucking kill himself.
Check, please.
Check, please. We are leaving. So that was that. So here's things to think about. Things I've thought about before bed this week. I'm just going to throw them out to you. I was thinking about packing up for this trip.
Yes.
And I was thinking about how many pairs of pants are we going to bring. So we're travelling out on Tuesday. So we're Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Travelling home in Sunday. So we've got six days. Travelling out on one, travelling home on another. How many pairs of pants did you bring?
6.
6 pairs of pants.
Yes.
I went for a similar number. So my rule of thumb is 1 pair of pants per day and a spare pair for when I inevitably shit myself. That is the rule of thumb when I go away. I spoke to a lady that I work with. We'll call her M.
Uh-huh. For Margaret.
Yeah. It's not a name though, but M.
Okay. M.
For Marjorie.
Like M, like from James Bond.
Yes, like that. Yes.
Okay.
M it is. And I asked her how many pairs of pants she takes on holiday when she goes on holiday. Because I said I'm taking 6 pairs plus shitty pair. And she said, that's ridiculous. I take... And what do you think she said?
Well, listen, I'd imagine...
She's a refined lady.
I'd imagine she takes more than you. You've hit what I would consider to be the minimum. And I can't believe it would be less. So I will say, if she thinks it's ridiculous, I'm going to say double that. I'm going to say 14. An even dozen.
She says her rule of thumb is 2 pairs of pants a day and a few spare pairs as well.
So in her version of this 6, 2 days is 12 plus a few, so 15.
Yes.
So not far off my fake even dozen that I just said.
It just so she goes away for 10 days and she'll take 22 pairs of pants away with her. I said, I don't own 22 pairs of pants.
That is absurd and ridiculous and unnecessary.
Like, I said, you can make a pair of pants last 4 days.
Now, can I just say, right, here's the thing. Even with your situation, it is not unhygienic to say a pair of pants could last you a couple of days.
Sure.
They're not. If you have not crapped the shit out of them and they're just regular, you'll probably find you might go to bed in one pair.
Yes.
Get up and just getting closer.
And someone's dead. Yes.
at the foot of the bed.
Yes.
And you wonder how they got there.
How did the cadaver get into?
Should we just saying a magic spell?
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra.
That's what I'll say to you
That's what
when
you
I
say
run
when
into
you
your
find that.
bedroom, and I'll be like, "Have a cadaver."
I have a cadaver. I don't know how it got here, but I have one now.
And they're dead.
And then it's probably because you said have a cadaver, which is, abracadabra or avada kedavra, and you probably did the killing curse and murdered them.
Is that what that does?
Yeah, it kills them. If you're into that sort of thing. If you're not into that, just ignore that I said it.
All I said was, "Have you some caviar?"
Have you seen caviar?
Have a caviar.
Yeah, that was your mistake.
And then they died. Because they've got an allergy to fish eggs.
Yeah. There's always a scientific explanation. It's not magic at all.
No. It's never magic. Any science sufficiently advanced looks like magic. So to me, an Etch-a-Sketch looks like magic.
Ta-da!
Speak and
You
spell.
shook it.
It shook,
disappeared.
mate. It shook.
All night long.
Listen, an Etch-a-Sketch is the stuff upon which, nightmares are built,
Yeah.
I've already said that. I speak and spell.
Speak and spell. I never had one. I always wanted one.
I remember...
Could you write something? Would it say it?
yes.
Could you write fuck?
Yes.
Would it say
It
fuck?
would spell it.
F-U-C-K.
Yes, because Gregory Curtis, who was in my class when I was 9, put shit into it. And it went, the word you're looking to spell is S-H-I-T. And the teacher said, Gregory Curtis, stop spelling bad words with your speak and spell.
I'm sorry, that is the first thing I would do.
You mean
First thing I've even thought of.
Do you know? Nighttime thoughts, things that freak me out. E.T.
E.T.
freaked
the
me.
extraterrestrial.
Yes. 3 things I thought about the other night, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Was it the scene where the government comes to pick him up and they're all wearing kind of like hazmat suits and locking down the house and running around with like bright lights and stuff?
No,
Because that's the scene that drove me pretty crazy.
I was glad they were there. Because thank Christ you're here. Thank God
We've got an alien
the
here.
government's here.
To
Because
step in.
Right? And I couldn't understand why one of them was wearing a spacesuit. One of them was wearing like a spacesuit.
Can I be honest about something? I have not seen that film since I watched it for the first time and only time at the cinema in 1982 when I was 6 years old.
I have seen it many, many times.
I watched that film. I thought it was fine, scary, weird, it's over. And on reflection, since that time, for the last 30 years, I've been thinking about how stressful and terrible and maddening that film is. And not entertaining, if I may say.
I have to say, at the very beginning, spoiler alert, at the very beginning where Elliot is outside, and he's sat outside, and it sort of shuffles out, and you don't know what he is at that point. He's just like a shadowy, shuffling little fucking thing. And he shuffles out like that. That just every time freaks me out. Yeah, because he's friendly by the end, but at the beginning you don't know.
No.
You don't know what is.
But I feel that you do know in a way because this is a children's film.
Some pretty freaky things happen in the film.
Like I said, I felt that there are some things in the movies in the 80s which, when you're a kid, you don't know what's really going to freak you out. And the very sudden and abrupt emergence of government agents, and they got a lot of the cameras. The cameras are wildly spinning around the place, and it's very disorienting and very crazy and scary and unsettling and anxious making.
Wow.
So I really hated it, probably for the same reasons I just described.
I gotta say,
I don't give a fuck about
E.T.
or Elliot or the others or anyone in that.
Well, he uses a speak and spell as part of the
bringing it back.
radio for a saw blade, a speak and spell, and an aircon electron or something. I can't remember what he uses, but there's a lot of bobbins out of the kitchen that he used.
Elliot, the guy that plays Elliot, is the actor that's in The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor and all those Netflix ghost story things.
Are they good?
They are. They're excellent.
Well, there's a bit later on where the bigger brother's looking for them, and he finds E.T. in the river looking like dried up dog poo. He's gone all white and he looks dead.
Oh yeah, that's scary as
That's fucking, because I thought he's proper dead now.
Yeah.
And I went to the hospital the other day to see someone, and they said, so you just walked past the cubicle, one of your friends is here? And she was one of my friends, she was incredibly unwell. She was in the trauma bit. She was
no.
really, really bad, and she was really pale. And I said afterwards, she said, "Did I look terrible?" And I said, "Yeah, you look like E.T. when he was dead in the river." Like, that's how bad you looked. Like, you know, spoiler alert, he doesn't die. So that was that. The other thing that freaked me out, and I watched a film called Witness the other day.
Oh yes. I've not seen it, but
it's got Harrison Ford in it, and it's about a young Amish boy who comes to the big city and he witnesses another cop murder someone, and basically they eventually identify that this guy's a cop and he's murdered another cop, and Harrison Ford tells his boss, and his boss is in on it.
Is Harrison Ford a cop?
He is a cop. So Harrison Ford's a detective.
Is the young lad a cop?
He's an Amish cop who's 7 years old. So
they start him young in the Amish community.
You know, they don't have a lot of forensics because they don't like all that stuff.
No.
But
Traditional methods.
Absolutely. Having told his boss that he's worked out it's a cop killing the other cop, Harrison Ford is attacked by and wounded by the same guy, and so he has to run his course because he didn't know his boss was in on it. So he legs it out, and he starts staying out with the Amish community where he's safe. Because there's no technology, there's no phones, there's nothing. It's the 80s as well, so they didn't have social media. They had all their Polaroid. But he hides there, and there's a bit at the end where the bad guys finally work out where he is, and they come looking for him. And he climbs up a ladder on the side of a grain silo to get away. And the cop looks up under the ladder, and he can't see him because it's dark. So he thinks. And then he pushes some grain into the silo, and the guy that's trying to kill him goes into the grain silo, and then he opens the grain silo and dumps all the grain on top of the guy, who is in agony because he's got tons of corn raining down on him, and he can't breathe, and he's coughing up all this blood and phlegm and corn, and he can't get back out, and the door's right there within reach, and he can't get out. And I said to my dad, "What the actual fuck is happening here?" And my dad's like, "Yep, that's why grain silos are really dangerous."
They are dangerous.
Because you will suffocate. And then he suffocates and dies. And it freaked me the fuck out as a kid. And I'm going to tell you one more. Well,
no, you carry on.
No, that's freaked me out.
It has. I can tell. And by the way, I saw a clip of, I think, 911, or one of the many emergency services American programs. I think in this case, it's the one with Rob Lowe in it.
Yes.
And I see a lot of clips online. Could be anywhere. And this one was somebody had fallen into a grain silo and they were slowly sinking.
It's fucking awful.
And then they were like, "We can get you out, we'll just put this winch down." But like he was just kind of out of reach, and they had to put kind of planks on the top of the thing just to get to stand on it. And they're like, "Don't worry, we'll get you out." But then there was another complication, you know, and all this sort of stuff. And
it's fucking awful, man. Like, you look at corn on your plate.
How did you fall into a grain silo?
You're dicking about.
I'm never going to fall into a grain silo.
Did you know why? Because I'm not going to go within 2 miles of a grain silo.
I'm never going to see a grain silo.
I'm not going in a grain silo.
The only grain silo I've ever seen was in the video game Stardew Valley.
Did you go in it?
No, I'm unable to go into it because
that's probably for the best. You're probably
there's no way that the character can go into it. You can only add grain to it, and it's removed. It's not even grain. It's like for hay.
I'm not going to lie. Check that Harrison Ford's not on top of it, waiting to dump several tons of corn on top of you.
That would seem malicious, given I hadn't done anything to him. Or my avatar in Stardew Valley.
I mean, are you secretly a cop that's murdering other cops?
Yes.
Well, then you're going to get.
I hadn't thought about that.
It could be worse though.
Could it?
Yeah, you could go in the parsnip cellar. That's parsnip to death.
God, I think that would a way to go. I'd be fine with that.
I mean, parsnips are tasty, but like corn looks great on a plate.
I like corn in its many forms.
I love corn on the cob, I love corn, but imagine have several tons of it dance about on your skull till you were dead.
Yeah, that would be bad. If it was popcorn, I think I could eat my way out.
But then you'd be burnt alive.
Would it be that hot, do you think?
Yeah, because it's like boiling oil. You put it in.
I see. I thought meant like it's been cooked, like butter kissed, like just pre-cooked.
That's, if anything, that's more dangerous. And the third thing that I thought about that freaked me out this week, whilst at bedtime, was, and you're going to say...
You get very anxious at bedtime.
My mind is like a runaway train at bedtime. These are the things
the song Soul Asylum song, Runaway Train. Runaway Train, that one.
Went down the track and she blew.
That's the one.
Yeah, good. I thought about the scene out of Superman 3 where his sister...
I just knew it.
Gets sucked into the machine.
Yeah, that's one that's in my mind.
And she gets circuit boards all over her face.
She gets turned into like a robot human.
It's fucking awful.
That is hands down, probably my worst and scariest moment as a child, because we were left to watch that film. Well, we weren't left to watch it. It started on at like 2:00 in the afternoon, and it was nice and sunny, and we didn't know where anybody was. And then a couple of hours in, it's now 4:00, and it was like a dreary afternoon. And then I don't know where my dad is, I don't know where my mum is, I don't know where my brothers are. It's just me and Matthew watching this terrible moment, which I didn't know was coming.
But like the whole fucking several horrible things happen throughout the film. Like that end fight with the supercomputer is awful. Like he uses that acid to destroy it, and he's got missiles coming at him, and then they shoot that massive missile.
He has a fight with himself in that film.
Yeah, and he puts himself in the mincer and gets minced up.
Yeah, do you know what I could do with watching that film again? Like, incidentally, I went to see that film at the cinema. Same film I went to see, same cinema, the Curzon, which used to be in Folkestone, but don't look for it now, it's not there anymore. I went there with my Patrick, my oldest brother, wanted to go and see Superman 3, and my mum said, take your brother, and then we went, and I just complained, I was so bored. He was like, take your brother, and I sat through complaining, like, is it done yet, is it done? I don't remember why I was then, so I do remember saying to him, I'm bored, I want to go. And he was like, I wanted to go and see this, I'm enjoying this, and then just had to take me out and take me home, because I was like complaining the whole time.
What about it being scary?
About just bored. I was just like, why have I come to see this film? I don't want to see this film's rubbish. Why? Oh, is it almost over? Can I go?
That blows my mind, and this is something else. I had a similar affair when I went to the cinema with my dad to see Empire Strikes Back at the cinema. When it first came out, that's how old I am. And he was like, you were talking and you didn't want to watch it, so we had to leave before it finished. And I want to go back and punch my infant self in the face.
Yeah, and especially given the fact that later on, that same film came onto, terrestrial TV, and I sat and watched it with Matthew, and no doubt my brother Patrick just went, I'm not watching this with you. You didn't want to watch it before. It probably blew his mind. I don't actually know what he thought about that. I've never asked him, because he won't remember. Although I might put it to him. Do you remember that time you took me to see Superman 3 just because Mum said to go? And I hated it. And
I made it shit for everybody.
I made it shit for everyone. Only me and him there.
Well, that's that. So Daddy's bedtime.
There are lots of sorry, I didn't mean to.
Go on, no, crack on.
Those are your thoughts. There were a lot of kind of anxiety-making thoughts. I think I have to say that those most thoughts don't enter my head at the end of the day. My problem at the end of the day is I don't want the day to end, and often my thoughts are always of a productivity nature, or how I can goal set better, or make better plans, or I look back and think, I didn't do this, or is this working with the podcast, or how should I do this, or should I set that goal, or how do I want to approach streaming? And so as a result, I then turn to YouTube to look up things until the cows come home, and I go, oh, that's a good video. There's another good video. There's another good video. And on a Thursday night and a Monday night, they have American football on, so I'll just be up. I don't have any thoughts at bedtime because I'm remaining awake. That's my problem, really. I'm still conscious and not trying to get to wind down.
My brain doesn't stop at bedtime.
Mine's always like thinking thoughts about jokes and then writing them down. Just like, that's a good line, I'll write that down. Or that's a good video, I'll check that, I'll make a note on that. So no anxious thoughts.
I don't get anxious, but my mind does think about these things. So, for instance, I thought about Witness, and I'm like, just one of those guys. And then I had to go watch it the next day because I needed to clarify what was going on with that. Wacky times. We're going to move on.
Let's
now to another section, another new bit of this podcast, because the podcast's new, and it's called Nightcap.
Nightcap?
It's not, yes.
Do you want to say nightcap again?
I'm just going to leave a gap because I'm just going to cut all this out and put the sting in that I've made.
Okay.
So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little something. Just going to take my trousers off.
Oh, I love it. Do you want to go upstairs up that ladder?
Never again do I want to go up that ladder.
I'll find you sleeping on the sofa.
With my cadaver up there.
Wow, so what have you got there?
I went to my friends at Waitrose.
I brought back.
Yes,
sorry, say that again.
Went to market, and she bought some. I'm going to say his second name wrong. It's the celebrity chef Heston
Blumenthal.
Thank you. and he's sort of the face of Waitrose, as it were. So they'd made this.
He's the Fastrose.
He's made this Heston's Lazy Espresso Martini.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So this was traditionally £25, and they'd reduced it down to 15. And I thought, fuck it, I'll buy it and take it to Eindhoven, because an espresso martini is probably one of my favourite types of cocktails. If I'm at your house and you obviously have an espresso machine, or if I'm at my house and I know in advance and I've made some cold brew coffee, I can make a really banging espresso martini. But if you haven't got that and you're in an Airbnb in Eindhoven and you want one,
as we are,
this is definitely the way forward. So what I'm going to do is I brought my cocktail mixing equipment and I went out and bought 96 cubes of gourmet ice earlier.
Perfect.
From Lidl's. And so I'm going to mix us up a couple of these lazy espresso martinis, and we're going to do a little taste test and see what we think. Okay,
can't think of anything better.
Let's do that. So, via the power of editing, I've now made us two espresso martinis. Now, it was a non-screw-off lid, like a cork lid, which screams classy.
Like it.
And the first nose out of the bottle was coffee. You said strong Kahlua.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I suppose, a bit straightforward to say, given that it's coffee, so it's going to be like that.
Like an espresso martini can be a bit of a ball ache, but that was dead easy. My only concern is how much. Like, I think we've nearly done half the bottle there. So it was a £15 bottle, so that's £3 odd for that. It's quite a large measure, I guess, for an espresso martini. There's good froth on it. It's got a good head on it.
Yes.
It was really easy to make. And
you basically put it in your cocktail shaker, put some ice in and shook it.
Yeah, so the ice straight out of the freezer, so it did that beautiful thing where the liquid was cracking the ice because of the temperature difference.
Yes.
And so let me just... It smells good. It's got a coffee smell.
It's the kind of thing you would drink at bedtime.
Cheers. Yeah, caffeine. Caffeine at bedtime is always good.
I mean, it's quite coffee-y, quite pokey, quite intense. You can really get in that coffee. Is that what you're getting? Because I'm getting a very rich coffee. Normally when I have an espresso martini...
It's very sweet.
It's a lot more subdued than that.
That's
quite rich. Rich is the word.
Yeah, it's incredibly rich. It's incredibly sweet. It's not very dark when you look at the colour of it, the body of it. Like...
It's quite boozy.
It is boozy. I mean... It's 20% ABV, so it's like a liqueur. So maybe I went a large measure there, but never mind. We're on holiday.
Double parked.
That's okay. You'll manage. You're a trooper. You're a fighter.
I'm a professional.
You'll see. You've done this before.
It's not my first rodeo.
Today, in fact, before you drove us here.
That's correct.
No, he never would.
Never.
It's good if it's all you've got and you're up against the wall. Like, I shook this over ice and double strained it. In fact, now that yours is settled a bit, it does look a bit darker, but it...
By the light of Kinsbergenstraat street light, looks okay. That's why there's no light in here. They don't need one.
They don't need a light because there
should be explained.
Literally,
the living room light is unable to be switched on, so we're sitting in the semi-dark with the lights from the kitchen.
I would say as well that much like a malevolent triffid, the street light is approximately 13 inches away from the window, so the natural street lighting is lighting up the entire property.
It is. I like it. It feels like I'm in an 80s movie where, you live in a terrible flat. Not that this is lovely, and the light's the only thing you've got coming in from the street.
It's all I've got.
Don't need to pay the electricity.
Don't take it away from me.
Cost of living crisis. Very thankful for living this.
A bit like I was going to say Plunkett and McLean, but I don't mean Plunkett and McLean. I mean Richard E. Grant and Paul
With
McGann.
Nail and I.
Yes, thank you. This is probably not the best espresso martini that I've ever had.
I wouldn't have thought. No, I agree. It's not.
It's for £15. It's worth a bash, and
at £25, maybe not.
No, I don't think. Now I'm tasting it now. I don't know if I'd pay £25 for it. I think I'd rather come to your house.
How many millage? How many? What size? Because I know you poured a generous measure, but how much is in that? How many cocktails do you think you'll get out of that? I say, waiting for you to come back to your mind.
70 cl is that bottle. It looks like it's less than that, but it is 70 cl.
Would you get 20 that 70 cl says
it suggests
700 ml. So
it suggests you pour 100 mils over ice for one cocktail. So that's 10 CLs. So you're gonna get 7 cocktails out of
You'll
that.
get 7 cocktails
For £15, so £2 a cocktail.
I mean, that's fair enough. And if people, by the way, I'd say your common or garden espresso martini drinker will not turn their nose up at that. And also, whilst I've never been a big espresso martini fan, despite the fact I love coffee and I love cocktails, I never really wanted to have them. I've noticed to have the desired effect of keeping me the fuck awake.
Yeah.
So it's very useful.
Very recently, our good friend Marv, who we'll be meeting tomorrow evening, we went to a house party at his, and at 7 a.m. we were still partying. I couldn't explain this natural energy I had
Right.
until he said, Matt, you've had 6 espresso martinis. You've effectively had 12 espressos. Then I had a heart attack.
espressos.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment and you're partying hard and you don't think about what it is you've done or what you've had. I went to Munich for Oktoberfest last week, and whilst I was there, I was only thinking about this the other night. I basically drank 7 steins through the day, which is the equivalent of 14 pints of beer.
God.
And I had COVID without knowing it. So I drank all weekend and partied hard on COVID. So the worrying thoughts that I have at night, which is that I'm past my prime, he's past, he's dried up, he's ruined, all those sorts of things. I'm still got the magic when it counts.
100%.
100%. Like an old Porsche 911, I still have the magic.
Yes.
So, there we go. That's our little nightcap. I'm just going to have another sip of that. Cheers to you. Put it next to my jam shed. So now, having had a nightcap, we've had a little chat about things we think about before bed. I would invite you, if you would, to select a chill-out song, a nice, relaxing chill-out song that we might relax to, and we'll have a little listen to that.
Yes. I'm going to pick a song that I think is very relaxing. It's the first track off the Velvet Underground's album. I can't remember the name, but I don't think it even has a name, but it's Sunday Morning by the Velvet Underground.
So, that was Velvet Underground and Sunday Morning, a song that I am not familiar with, but thank you for introducing it to me.
Well, I played it once to you before, and...
have I been intoxicated since?
No, well, yes, you have.
Ah, good.
No, I mean, you have no reason to remember it, although I picked it because it was one of the first songs that came in my head that had a lovely sleep-inducing quality, although I used to go fall asleep to Crowded House, Together Alone, so I could have picked anything from that album, but I picked that one. We used to drive up to Live Action Roleplay a lot, and I would make a little playlist.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the playlist songs, at the time I was putting loads of stuff together, and that was on that, but we were driving back, and it was after Live Action Roleplay. You were driving us back, and you needed to feel invigorated. You had a couple of Red Bulls ready to go. It had been a late night the night before,
as is the way.
A tiring battle, and now you were looking to be invigorated and drive back the length of the country.
Yes.
In our Enterprise hire car.
Back in the day, man.
Yeah, back when they pick you up. And
do you know, like, I couldn't believe that first time we ever went Live Action Roleplay, we got the fucking underground across London. And we got the train, and we went up to King's Cross, changed underground, and then a train up to where we were going. And whilst there is a certain
adventure
to it, but also relaxing, being sat on the train, you don't have to worry about being tired, you can fall asleep, but carrying fucking rubber swords and bows and arrows and costume and tents and all that, like, on the underground, it is a ball ache. It's an utter ball ache. And then the consideration that out of the blue I said we could rent a car.
Yes, because you had a license and I didn't, but neither of us had a car, obviously. Well, I obviously, and you had sold it, so. But yes, on the way back one time I said, let's listen to side B of my thing, and we played that, and you said to me, I'm going to fall asleep and drive us off the road, because it has that tinkly, tinkly, night sound at the beginning.
Death into a grave.
And you were like, Sunday morning, and you were like, I need to put something else on, Alex. I'm so sorry. Otherwise, I'm going to like slide off the motorway.
I might be wrong, but I seem to remember you whammered on Frontier Psychiatrist almost
Probably,
immediately afterwards,
yeah.
and I was like, "Ooh, time for wickies."
It was like walking on sunshine.
Yeah.
Woo! That's what you really want, is it?
That is what you need, not time for sleepy.
Time for sleep time.
Yes. I was saying, I think I said to you during listening to that I had a bit of a Beck feel about it, and I know you're a big Beck fan when you listen to that song.
Do you know, I'm a mega Beck fan, and I went to the Folkestone Beer Shop the other day because they were doing a 90s vibes night, and it was incredible because they didn't play all the obvious 90s hits that you would imagine. It wasn't just banging out Britpop.
No.
It was lots of the 8th song on an album. I mean, he was playing off vinyl, so what he brought was what he brought, and he brought out Out of Time by R.E.M., which is the album that has Shiny Happy People and Losing My Religion on it, if you care about that sort of stuff and want it was the album I think that really made everyone go, oh okay, the one before Automatic. Anyway, he brings out of Time. I'm like, wow, where have we come to? This guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And he played the last track on it, which is like really like unlikely, do you know what I mean? He deliberately avoids all these things, and he was playing through all these things. He played something, he got into a bit of like 90s hip hop as well. It was really good if you can go down there. And I went over to him and I said, I'm loving what you're doing. Quick question, do you have any Beck? Because whatever he was playing, Beck would have really gone with it. It was another kind of similarly produced kind of stuff. And he's like, oh no, I don't. And also the 90s was the era of the CD, so you know, there's not a lot of vinyl from the 90s because they didn't make some because they had CDs. So it's hard to get that stuff.
It's kind of weird in that CDs turned up and kicked the shit out of vinyl, and then only afterwards did people then say, actually, I'd rather have some vinyl.
I'd rather have some vinyl.
It's come back.
From an era, from a time when they, you know, they didn't really like to make it all that much, but they did. But so I was in Canterbury and there's a record shop there. So I popped in there because I said to Aletha, like, I said to him, I tell you what worked really well now. I said, not trying to backseat DJ, but I'm just saying, if you had Midnight Vultures by Beck, it would be really good. And he said, I don't have any, what he just said. And then I thought, I'm going to find it, I'm going to buy it for him, I'm going to gift it to him. So I went into this shop in Canterbury, and the guy was like, I said, do you have any Beck? And he's like, oh, no, I don't. I was like, oh, that's a pity. And he's like, yeah, Beck's great. And then he got his phone, which was connected to a Bluetooth speaker in the store, and he played some Beck. And it was nice and everything. And then he played another Beck, which was E-Pro, which is the song that we both like. That's off that album that we like quite a lot. And I was like, oh, this is great, this is E-Pro. But what struck us as we were leaving this vinyl store was the fact that at no point did the guy try to play things on a record player with actual vinyl. He was sitting on his Spotify, Bluetoothing to a speaker, and I'm like, much as I appreciate the drive forward for technology, if you're running a vinyl-only store, maybe it would be a good idea to play off a record. Vinyl.
I mean, does he not want to damage it? Like vinyls, you can Spotify all day long and it won't break, but vinyl has finite uses, right?
Whilst that's true. Well, that is true. If you want to say, I'm like, imagine if you were like, I make cupcakes from scratch. I love making cupcakes. It's my famous thing. My favorite
microwave
thing.
Cupcakes.
Then I went to Sainsbury's and just bought some cupcakes and put them out. I'd be like, oh, I thought you. So it just seems weird that he didn't just.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. You know, these things you can put on anything. It's pretty hard wearing vinyl.
I get it, but
it's so funny, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I want to. I'm going to move on very quickly. You know, I'm loving all this chatting about music and stuff with you, and it reminds me of when we were often on the radio when we were DJs for a little while, how much fun. Often I think maybe we could go back to that, but then it just dominated my weekend.
I was invited to come back the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Who, right?
I saw Dave Sharp.
Did he?
Dave Sharp, who had left there and said, I'm not going back to it. He went and did other things, and those things kind of didn't appeal to him. And whilst he was considering his next move for the various things he wanted to do, they approached him to say, hey, why don't you come back and do this? And he went, okay, is the quick version. And he said, and I said, oh, they were good days, weren't they? And he said, well, you know, if you want to come back, you're always welcome to come back.
Maybe I'll get Dave on here next, because I'll tell you something, that guy has got the best radio voice.
Yeah.
Like when he turns it on and he does it, and you're like, and he said to us, I really like what you're doing, you've got a lot going on here. And I'm like, but you're doing this professionally, I'm doing this as a hobby, one day a week, you know. But he's on Academy FM, by the way, in Folkestone in the mornings. Is he on the earlies now? Ross
Ross is
does the
on.
earlies. Ross is a good guy, but
Maybe we should go back at some point. It'd be nice. I actually, talking about dreams, I don't really remember my dreams, but I remembered a dream from about a few months back where I was asked to go back and DJ at Academy FM 105.9 Academy FM Folkestone.
Yes.
And I was always the one that manned the desk, and there's various buttons to press in various orders to push the thing along into the next section. And it wasn't difficult, but you had to know what the buttons did. There are like 6 or 7 buttons and a few sliders and some timings to do. It wasn't difficult, but it had to be done.
Yes.
And in my dream, I dreamt I was asked to come back, and I was in this little booth, and there were like 1 million buttons and 100 sliders and all these technology.
Like burgers, like mini burgers.
Yeah, tiny burgers everywhere. It was lovely, very tasty. That's why I never did anything with the radio, because I was too busy eating all the food.
Right.
Yeah, so it was like, you'll be fine, just go in and do it, they said. And in my dream, I sat down to all this desk, and none of it made any sense.
No.
There was this perennial, in fact, I had it the other day, I had a dream. Is there a segment where we talk about dreams?
It's okay. We're doing it now. This is the beauty of radio and editing. We'll dream it. We'll just say.
Dream it, be it.
You say it, but am I saying this right? We'll seg into it. Seeg into it.
We'll segue into it.
That's it. I was struggling with that word. Now I have it.
We'll get on a segue.
Yeah.
Straight to your wall. Boom. I don't often remember my dreams. In fact, I have 2 or 3 dreams that I dreamt at my very, very early youth, or kind of when I was like 20 or 21, and they have stayed with me, 1 or 2, but largely I remember them in the morning and then they go.
Yeah.
But the one I remember the other day, I remember I was back in the Little Theatre, which was an amateur dramatics place we used to do drama in when we were kids, and I remembered it perfectly. Matthew was there as well, and I was in the same seat I always sat in. Once you have a place to sit in when you're doing a play, you always sit at the same mirror. I dreamt I was there, but I dreamt that I didn't know any of my lines, which is pretty classic for people who do acting to not, but I hadn't really had such a perfect kind of thing. And my brother was like, don't worry, you'll remember it. And I was like, no, you don't understand, I said in the stream. I don't remember a single word from this play.
Wow.
Because the concept was that I had done this play before.
Yes.
And so like in repertory, I probably remember Hamlet or whatever it was meant to be. And I would remember some of it. And he was like, don't worry, I'll come back to you. And I said, no, you don't understand. I don't remember any of it. And he said, oh, I know it all. I'll go and do it. And I just sat backstage and let him do it. And I was like, that was one of the last dreams I had that I really remember, was the crazy actually forgetting mine.
You may have noticed a very quiet motorcycle going past.
They're all round Eindhoven, on the paths, on the roads.
I'm not going to lie to you. When we pulled it, that's a nightmare. Dream section, nightmares, whatever you want. But driving it into Eindhoven, there were 2 mopeds. One of them, a Domino's moped, going down the cycle path. So to give you some idea, the cycle path is entirely contained on the pavement within its own area. And there were a bunch of mopeds going down.
What was up with the mopeds? Get on the road.
And we're like, you motherfuckers, you're going to kill someone.
I know. Not us, we were in a car.
But apparently here in Eindhoven, there are some mopeds that if they don't go any faster than 25 kilometers an hour, they can use the cycle paths.
That's insane.
I know.
You could have a kid with a dog.
As we were driving down that road, there were 2 mopeds going down there. One of them a Domino's delivery moped going down this cycle path with an 11-year-old on there as well. And then we had the woman stepping out into the middle of the road holding the baby.
There's so many people who could have been dead today, but for my skillful driving.
Including us, but luckily we didn't die. They did, we didn't.
We're here.
And we're good. And getting to every single crossroads, and instead of there being, so like in the crossroads in the UK, you'll have a junction and a junction on one road that clearly has the right of way. Here in Eindhoven, every single road has a junction, dotted white lines marking it as a junction, and it's just a fucking negotiate. Just negotiate at the junction.
And also, because it's like suburbia and it's just like high cornered houses, as it were, you can't really look left and right, and there's parked cars, so you have to like creep and peep. And it's the same in Flanders. It's the same in like in Ghent and Wondelhem and all those kind of like little suburbies. I drove around them loads, and I was like, this is just insanity. Who has right of way here? Nobody
has. We'll work it out when whoever survives.
Yeah.
Whoever's car
it's like the Hunger Games.
Damage. Yeah.
And
fucking Katniss shoots an arrow into my head.
It's like, I guess I'm dead then.
Guess I've got the right of way. But I said to you when we got here, this very much reminds me of there's so many European cities that I've been to that, like, you know, so having been to Antwerp and Ghent and Brussels and different cities in Germany, and been to Essen and been to Munich, and a lot of these places look very dissimilar. And something you said, I said, this could just be Essen, where we're going tomorrow for the Essen,
Spiel.
The Spiel. I said, this could just as easily be Essen, and you said, no, it's incredibly green. And at that point it dawned on me, yeah, it is.
It's very green here.
It's very flat.
And it's quite green in a lot of Belgium as well.
It's flat, it's green, and in this area, which is effectively like a housing estate, but it's incredibly clean and neat, and not a lot. It's not very threatening. It's all very
I'd say
chill.
it's very similar to Belgium. Very similar to bits of Belgium I've seen.
Like, we went to Brussels the other week. Brussels, I really like Brussels. I'm going to say something bad about Brussels now, and you're going to jump on me, but it's quite a dirty place.
I mean, it feels quite dirty.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to watch yourself on an evening there.
Well, I'm quite interested to find out what an evening is like here in Eindhoven. We're going to find out very soon.
We're going to find out. We're going to wrap this up shortly.
I was just trying to think of the other dream I had the other day that I can't remember.
I'll tell you a dream.
Go on.
As a child growing up, if I was in a dream and there was a large body of water, there would be a shark in it. A fucking shark in it. I once had a dream where my dad was stood on the beach and he said, come swimming, come swimming. So I got in the water swimming with my dad, and then he turned into the shark out of Jaws.
I like how you said the shark out of Jaws, because you know Jaws very well. You can tell the difference between that shark.
Because it's shit.
They're all sharks to me.
But the shark in Jaws is very clearly shite. Like, it was so shite and it didn't work that's why you never see it in the film until the very end, because they couldn't get the fucking thing to work. And Steven Spielberg, who I genuinely believe is probably one of the best cinematographers of his generation, at that time, he could tell a story. So there was my brother will go on, and you ask him about it tomorrow and he'll talk to you for ages about it, but he's got a point, is that you can take a still image of a Steven Spielberg film and you can tell what's going on just from looking at the still image.
That's really,
telling a story.
That's like mise en scene, you know, and in theatre it should be the same. Is that you should be able to take a snapshot, you know, picture, like a grow, and you should be able to see what's going on, because the scene should tell you, by the framing and the acting and the expression should tell you where you are and all that sort of stuff.
But you look at Jaws, and so there's a scene where where they have the meeting. The town folks all come to the town hall and they have the meeting, and there's a still image, and it's Chief Brody. Chief Brody stood up, and everyone's looking up to Brody, so you know he's in charge.
Yeah.
Except for the mayor, who's like looking off to the side, off to the left, because the mayor has no respect for him. So clearly the mayor's superior to him.
That's nice.
And if you look at it, and but they're also angry, so they're there. You know, you get the idea of what it's going at, and he's like, well, you know, $3,000, and he's like, I'll catch it.
Yeah.
I'll deliver it, but I'm not doing it for $3,000. You give me $5,000 or whatever it is, $10,000, and I'll give you the tail, the fin, the whole damn fish.
Do you know what?
You know,
I've seen that film once and I enjoyed it, but I think what it is I never quite knew before going in to watch it, because all I thought was it's just a film about a shark and the shark wanders around and kills thing, and then but it is more than that. The kind of whole, you know, this is tourist season, this is important to the town and the community.
The politics is ridiculous.
Yeah, the politics is very interesting. I was explaining this to someone else the other day. They were saying, it's just a shark movie. I said, it isn't just a shark movie. Whilst that's an incredible part of it and it's done really well, the kind of the politics of it is very interesting, really. Well, my friend at work was going on about the Meg, and I'd never heard of the Meg. So you know the Meg.
I've seen the Meg. The Meg's awesome.
Right, so she said, she was like, because I've never heard of her, I thought she was talking nonsense. She just went, what about the Meg? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, I'm going to see the Meg 2. And I'm like, what are you
having a stroke? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? And she said, it's the megalodon. And I was like, what's a megalodon? She's like, it's a big kind of ancient shark thing. And I was like,
it's a prehistoric shark.
Right. And I was like, so, okay, I've never heard of it. And she was like, oh my God. And my friend Emily, she said, oh my God, you haven't heard of the Meg. And I was like, I can't hear of everything. It also sounds shit. And
it's not.
And then okay, fine. But then she said, I'm going to see the Meg 2.
Yeah, it's not as good.
And I said, okay, cool. She says, you'll like it. You should watch it. It's great, you know. I said, there's a second one? She said, yeah. Well, this thing is, it's underground, under the sea. And I said, what? And some random guys go along and they were like blowing stuff up carelessly, and then it kind of dislodges something, and then like it gets out, and then suddenly it's out, but it's ancient, so it's been, you know, lying dormant, and then it kind of escapes its prison and kind of goes around killing people. And she's like, yeah, that's pretty much what happens.
Yeah. And you say you haven't seen this?
And I was just like, and she said, how do you know that? And I was like,
because I'm not thick.
Because I know how this is gonna work. Yeah. I'm not taking the piss. I'm sure I would watch it. I mean, I'm not. By the way, I'm not really snobbish about this. I'm really not. I would probably have a good time. But I found it amusing to say that.
It's Jason Statham in a B movie.
In the water.
Jason Statham in a B movie with the budget of a modern film, punching a 60-foot shark in the face.
I love it. I want to see it.
I want to see it right now. He's such... You know, he was an Olympic diver. He's so very fucking handsome. He's unbelievable.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was an Olympic diver for a little while. That's why he's built. And then obviously he worked out. There's a really interesting interview with him when he was in, obviously he was in the Fast and the Furious films. And they said they got him in and he was sat there and they said, who's stronger, you or The Rock? And he was like, he goes, is he here now? And they're like, no, he's not. He's like, oh, I'm definitely stronger like that. And he goes, and then he comes in, Dwayne Johnson comes in, he goes, you all right, what you doing? He goes, oh, Dwayne, hello, mate. I was just talking about you, saying what a good bloke you are. Like that.
So good.
It's so really good. But the Meg is ridiculous. But Jaws is probably up there as one of my favourite films. I really love it.
You've often spoken highly of it. But your brother likes it as well.
I think it's partially terrified of it, partially loves it. And it's just, there's so many good bits in it that I think there's a bit where the mayor opens the beach and there's catastrophe, and like this film it's not a particularly gory film. There is some blood, there is some gore, but it's not ridiculous. But things like children and dogs and people that don't normally get killed, you're all on the menu. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's going to make it through this.
Can I ask a question practically about sharks?
Yes.
I mean, how realistic is it you're going to get bitten by a shark in the manner of Jaws, in your opinion? How often is that really going to happen?
So I am a man that is terrified of sharks, I think, and I'm terrified of the water. Yet when I went scuba diving in Australia, I was diving with bull sharks and hammerhead sharks that would naturally...
How did they afford to dive? I don't understand.
I think they've got like a tax exemption going on, and they do that. They've also
because it must be costing like 60 quid a dive or something.
Yeah, well, they've got money laundering. You know what I mean? They're heavily involved. They're heavily involved in the...
There's you standing next to them in a kind of a bit of classic Bell diver kind of like suit. Don't mind me. The big tube hanging off.
Oh man. And they basically said that these sharks are... they're man-eaters, but we've been diving here for 30 years, no issues. There's so much marine life here, and you never... So that the statistics are...
I love it,
but more likely that
this volcano hasn't exploded for 30 years.
For 30 years, this fucking space station's never crashed. But the idea is that you are more likely to get killed going on the M25 than diving with sharks.
Wow.
But you go on the M25 and you don't think about it.
Well, there aren't any shakes. Well, there aren't any sharks on the M25.
Yeah, one was driving that 18-wheeler that caused that tailback earlier. You know, motherfuckers, that's how they get you.
Yeah, well, they can't drive sharks.
You tell them that.
I mean, I want to, but I can't.
Do you know who can drive the octopus?
Yeah.
They've got it all covered.
Yeah, every single thing.
Ink.
One of them's switching on the aircon.
One of them's fucking about with the radio.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just like doing his makeup, putting a bit of lippy on.
Do you know, imagine a car full of octopuses.
Octopi.
Whatever. And the mum and the dad and the kids in the back. There's like 8 tentacles per, and like there's 4 of them, so that's 32 tentacles. Can you imagine the dad being like trying to calm the kids down in the back? If
Have you got your shoes on?
And like, stop messing with that. Take that away. Don't take that off your sister. Give it back.
Whose mittens do these belong to?
Yeah.
Everyone, apparently.
Yes.
But
don't stop changing the station.
You can't get over. I can't. So you go diving with these sharks, and you're like,
you go diving.
I did. I went down there. I went diving with them, and
this is insane. I would never go diving.
I went down there, and I was diving away, and there was no issues. Nobody got hurt, and it was fine. And a sea snake went as I was descending. A sea snake rubbed past my face as it was, and it freaked me out a little bit. I'm not.
I can rub my sea snake past your face later.
Later in the attic. With the dead prostitute. But it went past my face. I am a cadaver. And we went down there and we were like, oh good, and then I was all fine, and then I was basically, you have to do a safety stop where you decompress.
Yes.
And you have to stop for 5 minutes and you just hang off the side of the cage breathing, and there's spare tanks of oxygen in case you're in the shit. And I looked down, and this fucking shark just went under my feet, and I went, shit, have I already become complacent about this threat?
Yeah.
But the odds are they don't give a shit.
So this thing that went past you is something that would eat?
Yeah, it was a bull shark.
Okay. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me,
so,
but it sounds bad, though.
If you think that there's dozens and dozens and dozens of types of sharks,
yes.
and the top 6 sharks that are likely to bite you and kill you, you've got like a great white,
yeah,
hammerhead,
yeah,
mako,
yeah,
oceanic white tip.
I was on the oceanic white tip of my tongue.
Yep, that's the one. And bite you right in the oceanic tip of your bell, and
that would be the least of my worries. By the way, if a shark only bit my dick off, I'd be fucking happy.
Do you know, if a shark came to bite me, I wouldn't be worried that I'd only brought 6 pair of underpants because I might shit my pants. The shit has already been shat. You know, the shit is out already.
Shit's
like we say in Keithley, once the shit's been shat, you know.
You can't put the shit back up your arse.
No, the ketchup's out the bottom. And there's like bull shark, and I think like a tiger shark as well. Those are your top 6 killers. So we've got 2 of the top 6 here with us.
Wow.
And
I can't imagine what that. So you were just hanging off the thing, and you looked at it.
I just looked down, and I'm still 6 meters under the boat, and that was my first deep dive.
Was your first thought not, I've got to get the fuck out of here, or did you just steady yourself and go, well you can't go anywhere?
You can't go anywhere because so everything you do when you're scuba diving, and this is a nightmare, a kind of situation. Everything in scuba diving, like human beings are not meant to do it. We're not meant to be down there. So there's so many things that you have to do, and you have to do them for a reason, because if you don't do them,
bad things will happen.
Bad things will happen. So they said your instinct when you go into the water is to hold your breath. Do not hold your breath, because if you hold your breath and then surface, the air was going to double in volume every 10 meters.
Yeah.
That you go. So you're fucked. Your lungs are going to explode. You will die. Don't do this. Don't do that. You have to just keep breathing in slowly, breathing out slowly. Keep breathing in and keep breathing out. Do this. Do that.
Does that mean when you resurface, you just like blow out all the air before you
just as you're going up, you just breathe out. Just keep breathing out, nice and slow. But you surface nice and slow. You can't do anything quickly.
Oh my god, I would be terrified. It would be a nightmare for me.
The weird thing is that was so I was working towards my advanced open water course at that point. So you do 5 specific dives. You do a night dive. So I went diving in the middle of the night when it was pitch black.
Wow.
I thought it was going to freak me the fuck out, and it didn't freak me out. My air lasted longer than any other dive. It lasted an hour. I was so relaxed, and I thought I'm going to be freaking out because shit's going to be coming out of the dark at me. You do a night dive, a deep dive. So you go to, as an open water diver, you go to 18 meters. 1.8. It doesn't sound like a long way. It's a fucking long way.
No, it does sound like a long way.
And then you go a bit further. So they take
imagine if you I know you just clarified 1.8. I can't imagine anyone thinking that it would be
80 meters.
80 meters? Can you dive to 80 meters? You must need
You
something.
can, but you can't be that. So it's kind of
weird.
weird.
You're enjoying this bedtime, buddies. Back
know,
wherever
like,
you're listening to this.
this.
If you're not yet fallen asleep, because presumably you're in bed listening
soon.
to this. If someone is listening to this thing, thinking, I think I can go and dive, would you advise that?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Okay.
I would really. It bothers me.
Don't go.
The angel and devil on your shoulder.
I'm just saying, stay on land.
Well,
but it's not as adventurous.
It's not as adventurous, but I'm quite an adventurous person, I think. Reasonably so. Not as much as some, more than others. That's a shit answer. But
more than some, less than others. You're not Sir Edmund Hillary. You're not going to go up Everest.
No, that can fuck off. Because you see that it's kind of weird. So if you go really, really deep, oxygen becomes toxic.
Right, like Britney Spears.
Yeah. And my last relationship with my last girlfriend. Where have the knives gone? And so you can't breathe oxygen below. The partial pressure of oxygen becomes deadly poisonous. So
how so? Because don't you have it in your tank on your back?
You do, but you have to mix it with other gases. So you mix it with helium and other inert gases.
Okay.
And also you get nitrogen narcosis, which is depth drunk, but nobody really knows what that is or why it happens.
But it does happen.
But it does happen. So you go down. You have to go down to a depth, and they make you do sums on a board
to prove that you don't have
that you're not all over the
nitrogen
fucking place. Because one of the things people do when they have nitrogen narcosis is they believe they don't need oxygen anymore.
So they take
their regulator
supply out,
and they die. So I did like a night dive, a deep dive, a wreck dive, a long dive, and something else. So I was 4/5 of my way through my advanced.
So you need it. You need one more.
I need one more, and I can't remember what it is, but I haven't.
We can't dive here in Eindhoven, Matt.
I could probably dive down the steps from my bedroom, you know. I probably will later.
If I find you at the bottom of those steps, you're not going to be alive.
Folded in half. You're
The
like,
girl you meet
you're
at
like-
the top, screaming at the top of her lungs.
you're like, a shark did it.
A shark did it. A shark fucking did.
Oh, man.
And there's me with my nails down a blackboard. I'll save him for $5,000.
I'll give you the fin, the tail, the whole damn fish. I've broken my back. Now, moving on.
Please.
We're coming up to the end bit here now. It's
So
been
sad.
lovely to have you here. But,
Thank you.
Story time.
Yes.
And tell your story.
Please.
I love people mishearing things. So when you say something and somebody mishears it, and
Yes.
you're like, that's great. So because I'm a massive geek. I was talking to my boss the other day, and I said to her, I was watching this film, I was watching that film. I said, we're going to Essen this weekend. It's going to be me, you, my brother, my friend Marv, my friend Will, my friend Paul. And I said, my own personal Sinister Six, because I'm a massive geek and I read
Yeah.
Spider-Man comics and I know what that's all about. So I'm like, yep, there we go. She misheard me, and she stood there for about a minute with her gob open, looking at me. And I said, what? And she went, Sphincter 6.
Shut up. I can't believe she would mishear
Sinister 6 got heard
Sinister Six.
as Sphincter
Sphincter
6.
that. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Does she not know who the Sinister Six are?
No, she doesn't read comic books. She doesn't. She's got a child and a husband and a mortgage and all that stuff.
How terrible.
So she's got other things to be concerned with. I don't, so I read comic books and do all that stuff.
I've read the Sinister Six.
I know. And I was thinking about mishearings. And one of the mishearings, my favourite one, was when I was chatting to my friend. I rang my friend's dad up and I said, is Oliver there? Is Oliver there? And he said, yeah, he's playing on his computer. I'm like, what's he playing? He goes, what are you playing? And he says very clearly, Mario Kart.
The
And
classic.
he goes, classic Mario Kart. And I heard him, and his dad goes, Hydrocat. Down there with the fucking sharks getting chewed up.
Hydrocat would be a game. I don't know how that would be, but it's like an underwater cat, which seems
Why?
like anathema to a cat. They don't like water.
Some cats like water.
Uh-huh.
Not all cats. So that was that.
Yeah.
And then on the theme of mishearing, I've misheard many things in my life. I think I might be going deaf like my dad, but do you know who we listened to a song earlier on by Stacey Q
Oh, yeah.
called Two Hearts?
Yes.
And there's a bit like in that song where she says, we're like hot coals in a fire. And I'll play it to you later, but at one point I thought she said, we're like two cuckolds in a fire. And I'm like,
Well, two guys
whose
whose wives are having sex with another man.
by some big-dicked guy in the corner of the room, and they're sat on a bonfire
Watching.
this
Two cuckolds in a fire.
hot.
I'm not
coals.
too sure about this. Shut up. Move over a little
Sure,
bit. It's
mate,
cold.
It's a bit warm here, mate. Like, I don't know what that.
Two cuckolds in a fire.
Two cuckolds in a fire. We're like two hot coals, cuckolds.
Hot
in-
coals.
I swear to God, I'll play it to you, and I swear she says cuckolds, but I'm just saying.
I love it.
Things to think about. So, that's it for me. That is an abrupt ending. I've stuck the brakes on there.
Well, it's been wonderful to be part of this.
Thank you.
I hope that everyone enjoys this first episode of Bedtime Buddies.
Well,
They might be asleep by now, Matt.
Shh. This is the beauty of it, is you can pick it up tomorrow where you left off.
That's
and
right.
just listen again. Listen again, and hopefully this will be the first in a 1,000 episode series of
Well,
it.
I hope at some point in that 1,000 episodes, I'll be back on again. Maybe in a different European city.
Maybe we'll do this every time we go away together.
How prestigious is this to have driven like 5 hours to a different city just to record this?
Indeed.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Well, no, thank you for being here, and I'm sure you'll be back in the future, as you said, and everybody at home. It's time for a quick message before we go, but I will tune in and see you next time. listening to Bedtime Buddies, and, in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, believe you can, and you are halfway there. Please join us next time for more ludicrous nonsense and adventures of the serenely digressional kind. Intro music provided by Pixabay and Lo-Fi Retro Girl. Full links and credits in the podcast description.